Do you consider a win at remote duels like at the same level of a win at an actual event, like physical in-person event? All right, hello everybody. This is Yara here, and I'm over here with Zach. Y'all may recognize him. He has won a bunch of like times at our locals at Game Master, and then he's also a commentator on the Yara stream. And he a little known fact, but he's actually an official Konami judge, and like he's gone to like plenty of regionals and everything, so he has a lot of experience. And yeah, Zach, do you want to introduce yourself?
What's up? I
Mhm.
play Prank Kids, and I'm pretty much the reason that everyone says that they're scared of Prank Kids in Yada's deck profile. Me and my apprentice Zaki, we run that shop.
Yeah, yeah.
And speaking of Prank Kids, I feel like you got something to say there, Yada.
Oh my goodness! I thought you were gonna forget about this, but all right then. So,
No, as soon as I saw you say that in the text message, I say that's the first thing happening.
yeah. So I guess in a way, this is my first apology video in my YouTube channel. So, but might as well get out of the way. So yeah, I did a tier list and I put Prank Kids at tier one, not a tier S, and I had a huge Prank Kids fan base mad at me because they all believed it was tier S, and I didn't believe them at the time, but they ended up winning the NA YCS with Pack, but so I
Oh,
apologize.
that's crazy, right? Wow, crazy.
Yeah, yeah. No, the deck. I'm not gonna lie, guys. It's consistent. It's consistent. Like you draw any of your names and it's full combo. It's full combo. But um,
15 one-card starters. No way that's consistent.
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like Drytron and almost every other deck like needs at least two cards to have full combo, right? But like Prankers, they just
For
need
full
one.
combo, yeah,
Yeah,
every other deck basically needs two.
yeah,
At
yeah,
least the decks in the meta.
yeah. So,
So I think the
mhm.
best way for you to fully apologize is I teach you Prank Kids, and then you go win locals with it.
Oh my goodness, I don't see myself as a Pranked player. Like, I'm gonna make it into like an
This isn't
OTK.
about your feelings, Gata. This is about what you need to do. This is reparations.
This is all right, then we can talk that off stream. That's a little controversial, but let's see. So I guess for the first topic that I wanted to talk to you about, like, so Pac won first place. So yeah, we need to talk about his deck list and like to see what you think about it. And like, sure, I mean, Pac is a great player, so there's no doubt in our mind about that. But also, like, do you agree with a lot of his tech choices and a lot of his deck decisions?
You want me to bring the list up?
Yeah,
Are you gonna put it in post?
yeah,
What?
I'll put it in post. Yeah, yeah. All the viewers are gonna be able to see the list. So right now we can just see it
Okay.
ourselves. Mm-hmm.
So I think the big thing that we should probably bring attention to first is the parallel exceed.
Mm-hmm.
This hasn't ever really been super popular in prank kids. There's been some players who've had like one-off success with it at like some remote duel events. Not really, but mainly like locals. It's never really came to the forefront in a long time. But yeah, I mean, Pack went into detail on stream about his card choice for this, and he said that since Nib was starting to fall out of the meta because it doesn't really hurt Tri Brigade because they're usually going to make Appaloosa pretty early, um, and it doesn't like hurt Drytron super much, and it doesn't touch Sky Striker at all. Um, he thought it was best to just assume that no one was going to be playing with Nib, especially in game one. So he went ahead and played it, and Parallel Exceed has like two super amazing functions to it. One being that you can block your first kid in graveyard, so they can't ash you or gamma you, which basically means you get to go off because you can chain block just about everything else in the combo except for that first summon. So that's really cool. And then Dweller is definitely a bonus. If you Dweller against Drytron or Tri Brigade, or maybe even Virtual World to an extent, you're going to stunt their turn a lot. It won't be a turn skip like something like Dimensional Shifter would, but it's definitely going to hurt them a lot. So I think that was something to really bring attention to. Um, I think the next thing would be like 9 hand traps.
Yeah.
Most of these prank lists that we're seeing, it's either 12 or 15. It's almost never 9. And I know why he had to go to 9, because he wanted to play the Parallel Exceed and the Polys, because he's playing 2 Poly. And this kind of scares me because, I don't know, I personally in my list, I play 15, unless I'm choosing to play Poly, then I'll go down to 12. But 9 just sounds scary in my mind. Oh my goodness. And Pac said on stream that like he never wins a dice roll, so I don't know how he felt comfortable with 9 hand traps. I mean, the odds are he probably opens 1 most games, and 1 hand trap does almost nothing against every deck in the meta right now. For Drytron, 1 hand trap, they eat it like it's nothing. Tri Brigade, unless it's like a well-timed Veiler or they really brick, they're usually gonna still make Oppo Revolt. So I don't know. I'm kind of questioning it in my head, but it's okay. And then the Poly Engine, same exact reason that he played the Parallel Exceed, except for Poly does help even when you don't have to worry about hand traps. For example, 1 kid by itself is it's Bow Wow into Butler plus a free draw off of pranks. If you have Poly in your hand plus the 1 kid, it makes that same combo plus either a Totally Awesome or an Abyss Dweller. So even by itself, if you don't open the 2 kids and you just open the 1, if they don't hand trap you, it's an extender in its own right. So it's kind of nice. I really liked the 1-for-1. I don't know why Prank Kids players cut the 1-for-1, including myself. Because if you get ashed, I mean, 1-for-1's like probably the nicest extender in the deck, summoning fansies. So I think that was really cool. And then one of the real big changes from his list previously, for those who want a small history lesson, November, Prank Kids Meow Meow came out, and it basically revolutionized the whole deck. It turned it into the deck of 15 1-card starters, versus where in the past it was you have to have 2 kids and a Poly, which deck was trash back then. Like we were playing 2 invocations in addition to 3 Poly, just because you had to see Poly that bad. So anyways, deck comes out in November. It does nothing at all, really. It has like local success and some remote duel success, but like nothing real. Hanko Chow messes with the deck, does some great stuff, and then Pac meets up with Gabriel. Doesn't meet up, but he talks with Gabriel Susi, who's the EUWCQ 2019 champion. He basically a Solomon Great Master, and they basically build the deck as if they would build a Salad deck, which starts to include Desires. And it's relatively not that controversial in Prank Kids circles, because you have like 12 Prank Kids in deck. You can afford to banish 2 and get away with it. So it's fine. And then Pac took the meta call for this tournament, and it was that he could play Tactics instead of Desires. And Tactics, I mean, most of the time you're going to get hand trapped turn 1. And if you don't get hand trapped on that first turn with Prank Kids, you're probably going to win. So Desires in most cases is a win more card, if we're being honest. So Tactics gives you the flexibility of also ripping a card. In fact, right before the stream got cut away in his semifinals match, you can see Pac use Tactics to rip away an Nibiru. And the motion is like so instant. I kind of love it. It's just like Tactics, get the Nibiru out of here. He didn't even think about it. So I think that's pretty nice that the deck gets to do something like that. And I think it's just overall, I think Tactics was huge this whole tournament. I think most of the top 16 duelists were playing Tactics, and almost always Tactics was a game changer. I mean, in these highly focused meta tournaments like the YCS, everyone's going to be playing hand traps, and most people are going to be playing meta. So Tactics is just amazing. Yeah, I think on a local level it won't be as amazing, but still.
Yeah, and like I think Tactics is can solve that issue, like you mentioned, that like decks like Salad or Prankets do, that like they lose hard to Nibiru. It's like, okay, hand trap me once, now I get rid of two of your cards in your hand, so the opponent has like three cards left over. Um, and then if you have an extender, it's just GG from there, you know, because I doubt they'll be able to play through a double Butler wipe and with three cards in their hand. I doubt they'll do that. So
Yeah, definitely
yeah,
not.
yeah.
No way. And then there are a couple cheeky things that I think were kind of funny about Pac's list. Like the reason Pac didn't run a third Roxy's was because he didn't own the third Roxy's. This man has like Starlights and PSA graded cards that he just didn't own the third Roxy's. So that was a little funny. And instead of the third Roxy's, he ran one solo copy of Twin Twister. So I was dying just watching that on stream. I mean, he had success with it, and Twin Twisters definitely came up. He did mention his reasoning for a one of Twisters over a one of Feather Duster, and that was just because how important it is to be able to use it in the standby phase. I mean, especially in the mirror match, if you Twisters them in the standby phase, that Prankets player is not gonna get to play. If you Feather Duster them, they're done. And then also, he talked about how great Twisters was compared to Feather Duster when it comes to cards like Anti-Spell and IO. Harvey's Feather Duster and basically this whole deck loses if they flip IO on you. If you have the Twisters, though, you get to keep playing. Feather Duster, you just lose. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I think throughout this format, we're going to see more and more people start to cut stuff like Lightning Storm and the Feather Duster for these quick play spell and trap removal like Twin Twisters and Cyclone, since IO is just so game breaking. I mean, I kind of want to see the card banned because it literally just invalidates so many of these decks. It just says, hey, you know, spell cards, yeah, they're just useless. And that could be 20 cards in your deck. I mean, you flip IO against Sky Striker or Dogmatica Invoke Shaddoll, they lose. There's no counterplay except for these quick play removals.
Yeah, I know. I was playing against, I think it was Victor a couple of weeks ago, and then like I built like my whole board of Virtual World, and then he was like, I can probably play through this, because he was playing Invoke Dogmatica Shaddoll. He like, I can probably play through this because he had like Nadir and like Shaddoll Fusion and all that. And then I'm like, all right, standby phase, Imperial Order, and he just like picks up his cards and he's like, all right then, because like it gives like people like that still have like a fighting chance to like come back in the game. It just like nullifies that. So yeah, the card is crazy. Like, yeah, that's another topic where we could have where like the one-offs like Red Reboot, Imperial Order, should these cards even like exist? I mean, there are reason they're at one, it's because they're so strong, but should they even be at one? That's another thing.
I mean, personally, I don't like them at one because it's not like, hey, I happen to be the better duelist today. It was, hey, my RNG was better than yours.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much you prepared for this event. It doesn't matter how much thought you've put into your list. I drew the one of. And I don't really like it, but I understand the reason people play it.
Yeah, and then like, let me see. Yeah, the Desires. That's the thing that kind of hit me the most, because almost every deck that I've seen, like Prankets deck, has Desires at 3-of.
They've all been running Desires.
Yeah.
The only person that I think wasn't running Desires was like Henko Chow, but I think even eventually he came around to playing Desires. So yeah, it was definitely kind of surprising. And I guess the cool thing about not playing Desires is you get away with only running one Prankets Pranks. And for those who aren't familiar intimately with the deck, Prankets Pranks is what gives this deck somewhat of an artificial grind game. So Prankets Pranks allows you to recycle your engine every end phase. It allows you to chain block your normal summon of a kid. So if instead of opening with just one kid, if you have like two kids and Pranks, instead of going into Meow Meow first, you can go into Doodle to kind of chain block that first kid. So that's another thing. And then you basically get 3 draws every turn you play this deck. You get one from Game Mechanic, one from Roxy's, and then you get your third one from Pranks. Which is kind of why I think this deck is so well suited for the meta right now. I mean, you get 3 draws every turn. You're bound to see your
hand traps or
your side cards, your hand traps, and your side cards.
Yeah.
And that card's also part of the reason that they don't play traps as much anymore, and we're all playing hand traps.
Yeah.
There's so many times it's like, well, my only interaction with the opponent is just Butler twice. I hope they can't play through it. And then it's like in phase, I drew Ghost Spell or Ash, and it's like, wow, now I'm definitely winning this game.
Yeah. That's why I hate it, because like the hand trap aspect, like I don't just have to deal with a Butler, which is annoying as is, because it's like a double Raigeki, but I also have to deal with like 2 hand traps that I'm like, and if the other opponent knows my deck, they know what to hit, then I have like little to no chance of winning that game. And all right, and just like a little breakdown of the decks of the top 8, we have 2 Tri-Brigade, 2 Virtual World, 1 Mech Knight, 1 Dragon Link, 1 Prankit pack, and 1 Eldritch Border, which we shall not speak of, but but like, all right, so I kind of went through like all the cards that they were using and like side deck cards and stuff like that, and then I noticed one thing. Every single deck except one was running Nibiru, for the exception of one. So like, is Nibiru back on the menu? Like, there's a reason all these decks got to the top. Maybe they realized that Nibiru was gonna be a good meta call, based on the decks that were gonna be at the tournament. Because a lot of people were like forgot about Nibiru, especially last format. But maybe Nibiru should be like a staple in everybody's deck nowadays. But I don't know. What do you think about Nibiru coming back? I know you don't like it, but
well, yeah, as a Prankits player, naturally I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm still kind of conflicted about it.
Yeah.
Running it, because I mean, the decks where it works, it's a complete blowout.
Yeah.
You use it against Prank Kids or something like Salamangreat. I mean, they're done. There's no coming back from it.
Yeah.
You use it against Dragon Link with another hand trap, they're done. They're not coming back from it.
And that's what happened at the finals against the Dragon Link player. Packed Nibiru to the Dragon Link player, and he just kind of passed on that. Yeah.
I mean, it's so like pivotal in some of these games, and then there's games where it's completely useless. Like Tri-Brigade, they're probably making an Appaloosa on Summon 5. Drytron, they're probably going to play through it somehow, because Drytron's just nuts like that. So I think the card definitely has a place in the meta, but I don't think it's gonna come into the main deck very soon.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll come back into the main deck when Zhangzhan or Flundereeze come into the meta, but I think for now it's gonna stay in the side deck for a bit.
Yeah. And then another card that I wanted to talk about, like Anti-Spell Fragrance, was one of those cards that even myself, I was like, man, everybody needs at least 2 or 3 in the side. But I was looking at all the 8 deck lists right here, and only one player was using 2 of them. Like, and then I was looking at another profile on the DB Grinder, Deadly V7. He was top 16, and he was like, a lot of people are realizing that everybody's either running Twin Twisters or Cyclone because they're expecting like an Imperial Order or an Anti-Spell Fragrance. So a lot of people switch their fragrances for judgments for this tournament. And I see like in the top 8, only one person has 2 copies of Anti-Spell Fragrance. Like everybody else like just dropped it. And so people have like 3 judgments instead of the fragrances. Like, do you think people that are expecting it now more are like scared to run Anti-Spell Fragrance? Is that why a lot of people choose to cut it?
I think that's definitely one of the reasons. Along with, I mean, it's again one of those cards that's a blowout for some, but useless against the most. I mean, going into this tournament, most people would have said that the top two decks are Tri-Brigade and Drytron.
Mm-hmm.
People would probably argue about what the third deck was, but I think most people were in agreement that Tri-Brigade and Drytron were both two of the top three decks.
Yeah.
And I mean, Anti-Spell and IO are just like not amazing against that deck. They do something, but they're not amazing.
Yeah.
So I think it was definitely the right call to start moving away from that. Now that Prank Kids is starting to see some more of the limelight, and right now, top 4 for Central American YCS, I believe. There's 2 Dogmatica Invoke Shaddoll players. I think some people are going to be wary of it, but we'll just have to see as the meta evolves. I mean, right now, we haven't got the next YCS announced yet, so who knows when we're going to have the next Premier event. I know regionals are starting to look at coming back soon, and there's been a couple large-scale events, but honestly, the meta is going to be shaped by all these like remote duel events.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then let's see. Another thing that I noticed interesting was because we all know the Dragon Link player was second place. He was in the finals with Pac, and I noticed the interesting thing that both of those players were running Bell, Ash, Valor on their main. Is that like the trinity of hand traps right now? Cause like it's like literally Bell, Ash, Valor, both players on the main, not even on the side. I'm like, are this the hand traps that hit the most decks? Is that why the 2 top players were running Bell, Ash, Valor?
I mean, I think right now it should be considered the holy trinity of hand traps. I think pretty much every deck playing hand traps, they're always playing Ash. They should be playing Valor right now, because it's just such a shutout against Tri-Brigade. And then most decks probably should be running Bell, because Bell hits Revolts, Bell hits basically any of the Prank Kids, Fusion 2 or Link 2s. Maybe it is the Holy Trinity. I think for this format, it's going to be there, especially because, Valor can't get twisted or cycloned.
Yeah. And like I love impermanence, but if anything, I would put like impermanence on the side because like me and you, like we run combo decks and like for especially for you, like you don't want to set your impermanence because they're just gonna you're gonna get twin twisted on standby phase, but like Valor is
gonna. Sadly, I know that. Yes, please remind me again. Please make me absolutely depressed about playing a deck that loses to 1 twin twisters.
Yeah, so like Valor will always be in your hand, So that's I guess why a lot of people choose to have that instead of impermanence on the main. I don't know. I mean, as much as I like impermanence, I don't like it. I guess for me on Virtual World, because a lot of people are afraid of Chuchi. Like they cite a lot of back row hate versus my deck, so I don't want. That's why I don't run impermanence, because I don't want to set it. Especially that's why. Do you like impermanence?
I don't blame you. I feel the same exact way. I already have a powerful spell trap that I know they're going to want to hit. And most people, I believe, as of right now, are going to play Twisters over Cyclone. Or maybe they'll play an even ratio. Either way, I don't want them to get more free advantage. And especially in like Prank Kids, I don't want to draw something like Imperm off of Pranks. Because then it's actually legitimately useless unless they evenly match and then pop whatever I have left or something. But something like Valor, if I draw Valor during the end phase, it's completely usable. I mean, my deck basically went like +4 off of that one interaction. I got to shuffle back my engine for the next couple turns, and I drew a hand trap. Honestly, that card's just unfair. I mean, it's like kind of fair, but it just enables Prank Kids. If they banned Prank Kids pranks, that deck would be much more Glass Cannon.
Maybe you have to start running. What's the name of the pot that you shuffle 5 cards, 5 monsters into the deck, and you draw 2?
Oh, Avarice.
Yeah, maybe you start running. Isn't it a 3 at the moment, or is it 2?
It's a 3.
It's a 3. Yeah.
I would only ever run that card if they banned pranks.
Oh, okay.
Which I mean, if they were to hit Prank Kids on this next list, Oh boy. Good luck to Konami to figure out what to hit.
I mean, what would you hit if you were Konami? Because I'm
I'd
not.
hit nothing. The deck's fair.
No.
Smile.
You hear that, Konami? The deck is super fair. Just because they have a super high win rate, super consistent, doesn't mean they need to be hit.
I mean, just to follow this tangent real
Yeah.
quick. They don't really want to hit Meow Meow because it's probably going to be in the tens. And Meow Meow basically enables the deck. If they hit it, if they hit it to 1, not this list but next list, the deck would probably still live, but it'd have to play way more of the extenders like Poly. I'd kind of be okay if they hit Butler, even though Butler is the win con right now. That deck would just shift into a grind deck, and it would start abusing stuff like Weather Washer and Rocket Ride. And I think the deck's fully competent enough to do that, especially since the deck runs so many hand traps. So I think it'd kind of be okay if they hit Butler. I don't want them to,
Yeah.
but I think it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Honestly, I don't know how you give, because I don't think prank kids need a band hammer. I don't think they need to be like absolutely swung upon. I think they just need a light adjustment.
Yeah.
And I think something like maybe like Meow Meow to 2, Doodle to 2, or maybe like Doodle to 1 might be something more realistic.
That's what
Doodle to 1 sounds awful to me also.
That's if I, because playing against that deck, and I have experience because Zach, we always somehow have to face each other at one point. But like
Somehow.
that's, I would, if I was Konami, I would probably hit Doodle to 1 because he sucks whenever I Valor the Doodle, and he's like, I'm just gonna make a second do and do what I was gonna do, because like if you only have one do, then you don't have the option to go into a second do the same turn and then still tribute it, you know?
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that would be a fair hit. I know you wouldn't like it. You would prefer the deck didn't get hit, but at least they don't get hit.
I'd prefer the deck never get hit, and then we go out and we limit alpha.
Yeah.
That make my life happy. Oh, and then if we limited Fractal, that would also make my life much easier.
Oh yeah, now that we're on this topic, like, when is the next ban list dropping? Do you know?
Oh, good. I don't want to know.
Yeah, but like,
I think it's, well, we just got it in July, so maybe it's October 1st.
October 1st. Also, we
Thank
still got a
goodness.
long way. So,
Yeah,
like,
we got a while.
what cards do you see that are potentially gonna get hit on this list? Do you see any?
I don't know. We'll have to see more results as they come out, honestly.
I don't think it'll.
I don't want to imagine what they're gonna do right now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
I mean, the meta's still definitely evolving. Especially once we get Burst of Destiny out, the meta is gonna completely change.
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at the OCG, they got Burst of Destiny, and Zhangzhan completely took over. Like, Zhangzhan went straight to number 1, and then in the OCG, Prank Kids went up to number 2. I guess they have a decent matchup against Zhangzhan. I don't know that for sure, but I guess they do. And then Flunderies is kind of just, it's floating around as a tier 2 deck over there. So I definitely think this list might be a way for them to help enable that change. So they might start hitting stuff like they might start hitting some of the Drytron engine cards. They might hit Prank Kids and Tri Brigade to help that change happen.
Maybe
kind of like what they did at the end of TOS format, where they kind of just hit all the big decks, so that the new decks coming out in Secret Slayers, was that the Adamantipator one?
Yeah.
So that they could come out and rule the meta. Because Konami's a business. Smile.
I don't think Drytron is that strong, but I have a big feeling that it's gonna get hit like pretty big because it's like one of those decks that is like not fun to play against. Like,
You don't think Infinite Negates is like strong?
yes, that's what I'm
Huh?
saying.
Huh? Huh?
Konami just hates those decks or like, or try playing through 6 negates, Omni negates, and then it can also negate your special summon. Like, I think those are just one of those decks that are at the top of Konami's list. Like, that's why Pendulums got hit super hard, and a lot of like decks like Dragon Link got like neutered last ban list, but they still somehow. I mean, they got neutered, but that's why I think Drytron is gonna get hit. I don't know where they will get hit. Probably maybe like limit Nova and like do something else along those lines. Like if they limit Nova, they'll lose harder to Droll because they'll have to play like 3 field spells. Um. Oh yeah. Speaking of Droll, like Pack didn't even run Droll. Did you notice that? He didn't roll Meister. He didn't run Droll on his deck.
I don't know what he was up to.
Yeah.
That's scary in my mind. Because you don't got a Droll for Drytron. I mean, they'll play through whatever else is in your hand, and no Droll, along with the fact that he was only playing 9 hand traps in the main, is just he's brave. I think it's a little high roll to only rely on 9 hand traps, and then have no floodgate hand traps. But oh well, he did it.
He did it. Yeah, I mean, I remember reviewing like some deck lists and like I remember every time there would be like big tournaments like before this ban list, like when Dragon Link was full power, like Prank Kids had like the best like conversion rate out of any other deck. Like, and in this tournament, like so much Tri Brigade came in. That was like the most represented deck, and then Drytron was like the second most represented deck, and then Prank Kids just somehow took it. Like I don't know if it's because people were super ready for the other decks or because the deck is just nuts. Like, I don't know.
Honestly, I think Prank Kids just lacks enough like pilots. If I'm being honest, I mean the skill, like that deck is exponential when it comes to having to learn the deck. There's plenty of people that are just scared to learn that deck because it's super intensive. Kind of like the way that Block Dragon Adamantipator was when that deck was at full power. It is frightening. All the combo lines and all the possible decision trees you have to think through with that deck. Adamantipator was way more intense than Prank Kids is. But that combined with the fact that it's in a similar price point to Tri Brigade. I mean, I see the reason that most people would pick up Tri Brigade. It's a relatively safer bet. People, at least at the end of last format, weren't citing for you as much. They were much more citing for Dragon Link and Drytron. So I see why people are picking it up. I mean, I'm not saying Tri Brigade's like a monkey flip deck, but it's definitely one of the easier combo decks to learn compared to something like Drytron or Prank Kids. That's my reasoning.
Yeah. I mean,
oh boy.
Yeah. I agree with you. Okay, it's gonna be probably the most controversial topic of the podcast, and yeah, no, you can tune in, people, if you don't want to hear this part, but
Ban Shenshen.
No,
There's my controversial opinion.
No, don't listen to him, Konami.
And Shenshen. Konami, I will do things for you if you ban Shenshen.
No, Konami, don't let them bribe you. You're smarter than this. You're smart.
I'll give you all sorts of bribes, Konami. Please ban Shenshen.
But okay, so this is the topic. All right, then. Do you consider a win at remote duels like at the same level of a win at an actual event, like physical in-person event, based on everything that we know about remote duels? Like, not. I trust Pax win. Like, I know he won legitimately, but do we trust like the rest of the people? That's what I mean. Like, how that got to the top type of thing. Like, do we think it's at the same level as an actual event?
Okay, I'm gonna blow your mind with this take,
Mm-hmm.
and I might get flamed for it.
Okay.
I think it might be harder to win a remote duel event.
Whoa. Okay, I did not expect that. Why is that? Why
Okay,
is that?
other than numbers,
Mm-hmm.
because I think this remote duel YCS had good numbers,
Yeah.
but I don't think it was like I don't think it's gonna be near as big as like the first real YCS. Like the first real YCS, I'm sure that event's gonna break 2,500,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or maybe even more. But this remote duel still had really big numbers, um, and I think it's harder to do because when you're playing over remote duel, you can't read your opponent near as well. Um, maybe- for like this top 16, we got face cams,
Yeah.
but for most of the people playing, there was no face cam. So you didn't get to read your opponent's face. You didn't get to read your opponent's like hand motions. So like sometimes in real life, you'll see them like pick up one card and they'll look at it on your fifth summon or something, and then that might like signal to you Nibiru, or maybe they'll look at their hand when you activate Drytron Nova, and you'll think maybe it's an Ash.
No.
Um, so you can't really do that in remote duel. Plus, I think it's way easier to cheat on a remote duel
Mm-hmm.
um, than it is in person.
Yeah.
I mean, remote duel. I mean, most people saw the example, but in
Yeah.
one of the Central America events, someone just grabbed a Denko Seika from behind their monitor, like added it to hand, and then like normaled it or something. And then or what was it? The camera fell, and it was like Denko Seika, Nibiru, Droll, and it's like, hello.
Weren't they running like one ups on their side deck?
Yeah, yeah. They ran one Denko Seika, so just in case it came up, they could be like, "Oh, well, there was a one up in my side deck." Like,
Oh, they were missing
I
one spot. They were missing one spot. So like, in case they asked them like, "Wait, that was not on your deck list." And like, "Oh, it got deleted when I submitted it." Like they had like
yeah,
14 side deck.
I I I think there's like a ton of cheaters, and I'm not gonna say what happened in top four of the YCS. I'm not gonna say whether or not it was one thing or the other, but things were sus.
Sus.
And then also like bringing up what's happening today for those wondering, we're recording this on Sunday. Just like an hour ago, I was watching Central American YCS top four, and a Tri Brigade player took a game loss because he dropped a card. And I don't think that player was like legitimately cheating. I think it was like a legitimate accident. They just dropped a card, which anyone who's played in person knows that happens all the time. Someone will drop a card. And in person, you don't get game losses for that.
Yeah.
Because you're probably not cheating. But like remote duels, they have to be super strict with everything. And I think it's instances like that that makes it harder to win an event like this.
Yeah. No, I
Kind
agree.
of just blows my mind more that Pac won with 9 hand traps.
Yeah.
Like his opponents could have been opening perfect hands.
Yeah.
Like his top 4 match did, where he always opened up Summon Limit, a Weighted Dragoon, and maybe something else.
Hey, it's okay.
Anyways, this is crazy. So yeah, I kind of think remote duels are harder.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that like a remote duel local is harder than a regional.
Yeah.
Because I definitely think numbers come into play. It's way easier if you're playing a meta deck to win a remote duel locals than it is for a regional, especially in these busy areas like, all the Metroplex areas where you can get anywhere between like 200 and 600 people. It's definitely way harder to win an event at that number. But if you had equal numbers, it'd definitely be harder to win remote duel.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's like the Wild West in remote duels. Like, you have people like main decking Denko Seka out of nowhere, and like, I I don't know. Like, yeah, I mean that happens all the time. Like or sometimes, like you may like sometimes some things may happen like at like in person events that may look like cheating, but like it's not cheating because you're in there in person with them. Like the only thing I do appreciate about like in-person events is that you can cut somebody's deck and they don't They're not gonna stack it with Red Eyes Fusion and Summon Limit, but
Well, they could stack you, but it's much harder to get away with it.
yeah,
Whereas, the North American YCS, you can just kind of pick up cards, put them on top,
yeah.
and then tell your opponent that you cut 12 and only cut 10. Oh wait, sorry, did that come up in top 4? Oh, maybe.
No,
Yikes.
No, we're speaking hypothetically here.
Just hypothetically,
yeah.
if your opponent was to tell you to cut 12 and then you cut 10 on purpose, and then you told them you cut 12, I mean, who knows?
Yeah. And then
oops.
This is, I don't know if you saw the DB Grinder video on this, but apparently a lot of people went up to him, that were competing at the Remote Duel SCS, and then that played against this hypothetical player that doesn't exist, of course, that was playing Border Dragoon, and then he told all his opponents that his shoulders hurt, he had a shoulder injury or something that required him to have all his hands down during the whole duel. And then I'm all right, so he made up a fake injury just so he can stack his deck. I mean, in this hypothetical scenario, that's pretty crazy,
Still, I mean, that and then the barrage stuff too. The barrage incident, where it activates Imperm, it resolves, and then activates barrage and then scoots it over. If we're gonna play online in front of PCs, give them the benefit of being able to record possible cheating.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the verdict's still not out on what's going to happen to the player who moved to the barrage, and then what's going to happen to the player that recorded the incident. But if you're in person, you have someone, you have anywhere between 2 and 4 people next to you, depending if you're in the middle of the table or on one of the ends, who are there and can at least justify one point or the other. I mean, right now over Remote Duel, it just happens in a little dark voice channel between 2 people with no one else there to possibly serve as a witness.
And then you're not allowed to record, so it just becomes a he said scenario,
yeah, it's just he said, she said.
Yeah.
And it's poor judges. I don't know what they're supposed to do in that case. But dang.
I mean, as you're a judge, that must feel terrible in that scenario. It's wait, how can I
don't know. Yeah. I don't know what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking back at that situation, and I have there's tons of hindsight going into this because I've watched videos and stuff, but honestly, I don't think anyone is ever going to call a judge and then lie about an Imperm column thing.
Yeah.
Almost always, if someone brings up an Imperm column, it's because it legitimately happened.
Yeah. You have to be a real scumbag to lie about that. But I've never seen it actually happen. Somebody lie about that. You mentioned they usually call the judge when it actually happened.
No one calls a judge when it doesn't happen. But I can't imagine what the floor judge and then maybe the head judge had to go through when they were deliberating over that decision.
Yeah, I feel terrible for judges. Oh man, that I was just laughing because then they started calling it barrage. Oh, Mech Knight barrage. It's I activated here.
Whoop. Or Mech Knights would be broken if you could move your continuous spells.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
What's the trap card? I think it's called Secrets, right? I can't remember the trap card that negates.
I just know it's negate.
Yeah, negate. Yeah.
It negates and it becomes quick effect negate anything if you have Indigo.
Imagine, yeah. Yeah, every card is an Indigo. Yeah, the whole.
I mean, that's how it used to be in Yu-Gi-Oh before Mech Knights. People didn't play with columns ever.
Yeah.
The only time you'd ever play with columns is if someone was an alien player.
Yeah.
But for at least all the time that I played Yu-Gi-Oh before Mech Knights, columns never mattered. People would just slap stuff on the field, and it never in formats like Dino Rabbit format Duelist Alliance format. I mean, those columns never mattered. So I think it's kind of crazy that they do matter now.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it because it adds another layer to the game, but crazy.
Yeah, even like playing like online now, everybody plays around columns. Like, um, yeah, stuff like Meg Knight, stuff like that counter trap card, the one that has to be on the same column. I can't remember the name. Um, Broken Line, yeah, Broken Line. Yeah, Broken Line.
It's just by default now that people play around columns.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, just to make like a little side point there, like Meg Knight's really changed the game forever. I mean, I don't think there's ever going to be a point where columns don't matter ever again.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of Meg Knights, did you see that Meg Knight Orcus deck?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
I want to bring up
Yeah.
the spice in this list.
All right.
So, just about everything in it looks standard in a Mech Knight Orcus list, I guess.
Yeah.
Other than A, 16 trap cards, and B, one of those trap cards is Divine Wrath.
Oh yeah, the Divine Wrath.
Divine Wrath, for people who don't know, when a monster effect is activated, discard a card for cost, negate the activation if you destroy it, and it's a counter trap. This card hasn't seen play in years. I don't ever remember this card unless this card was like actually meta in like one of the Pendulum formats or something. Yeah. This card hasn't been meta since at least 2011, and even then, it wasn't even meta then. It wasn't. I don't think this card has ever been meta. But I mean, good for them. Obviously, it must have worked out a little bit if they made top 8 at the YCS. But jeez, Divine Wrath. That's crazy.
Last time I remember seeing that card was like on the counter fairies. Like those fairies that ran a lot of counter.
Oh yeah, cards. Counter fairies would run it. Yeah. That makes sense, especially because you could get around cost.
Yeah, and then like the only hand traps he's running Ash and then Crow and Imperm. Yeah, because does he want to go first or second? I would assume second because it's Meg Knight, right?
It's Meg Knight, so you wanna go second.
Uh-huh. But he's running counter trap cards too.
But he's running trap cards. Mm-hmm. Honestly, this list confuses me, but there must have been obviously a lot of thought put into it for them to get top 8.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the player, but this list, it kind of hurts my brain, but obviously it has something behind it.
Yeah, he's running one Orcus Return and then one Crescendo. I'm assuming it's just for targets for Galatea. I don't know. I'm just glad to see Orcus back in the meta, quote unquote. Like, just seeing it again.
If I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think this deck is like gonna be meta. I think it's just one of those one-off things. I don't think Orcus is gonna come back to the meta until they get Harp again, and even then, if they get, I think for this deck to come to meta, it has to have Harp back, and then has to get the Small World spell card, because that card is nuts in this deck. It basically says search any dark machine in your deck for fun. It's basically 3 more Gearsus or 3 more Armageddon Knights or 3 more Recyclers. Yeah. So it'll be insane then, but honestly, I don't think it's going to be anything for this format.
Yeah, I mean, let me see. Yeah, I don't even want to look at this list anymore. Like, it's confusing my brain. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, he definitely wants to go second, but then he's running all those trap cards. So I'm like, wait, I don't know.
I know, that's what's hurting me. And if you go first, like all those trap cards would have you think.
Yeah.
At least, the ones that aren't Imperm.
Yeah.
The only way you can make columns in this deck is if Gearsu resolves to summon a token.
Yeah.
Because then you could go like Gearsu, summon a token, and then token into Link Karibo, and then Link Karibo plus a set card makes your column.
Yeah.
But then your Blue Sky is useless. And then your purple Nightfall searches you Gearsu or Blue Sky, which are both useless at that point because you already used one and the other one won't search you anything. So it's definitely interesting. There's Lib with no World Legacy Succession. So that kind of bends my brain a little bit.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just want to see an interview come out.
With this
I
player.
know Slim uploaded a deck profile, but I want to see like an in-depth interview for how this deck is supposed to work.
Yeah. He's running Zeus as well, which I don't even know if he ever pulled it off because it's an Earth. So if you go your usual Orcas route, you're locked into Darks. And
Wait, Zeus? I thought it was isn't Zeus like a light?
well, he's either light or Earth, one of those two, but he's definitely not dark. So
Yeah, I think that's just for like assuming they go first, turn 2, you wait, no, there's no Orcus field spell in here either. Maybe they just pray that their Dingirsu lives one turn and then they make Zeus.
Yeah.
That or they got rid of it with Prosperity a lot. But dang, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, I would have just ran the Dragoon package. But yeah, I mean, Dragoon. No, none of the top decks were running it because I'm not gonna count the border player in. I'm sorry, but yeah, he's not part of the. Like nobody that top was running Dragoon. I don't think Dragoon is gonna get hit. Like if anything, only the rogue players have a problem with Dragoon. Let me see. Drytron is running Dragoon. I don't know.
Rytron's running it. Tri Brigade has a non-targeting out for it.
Yeah.
Sky Striker outs it with Rose. Prank Kids out it with like Field Spell or their side deck. Honestly, Dragoon's just like really a problem for Rogue.
Yeah.
And it's a win con for other decks. Like nothing against Guru or Eldritch, but like they would not be remotely close to meta without Dragoon.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, Guru's doing nothing if they're not allowed to play Dragoon.
Yeah, they're doing nothing.
Eldritch can maybe get away with it, but they're not really doing anything without a Dragoon.
Yeah. And a little tip for everybody, because I used to play Guru all the time. The best card against Guru is Kaiju's. It makes so many cards in their whole end board like useless. It makes the field spell useless, makes the trap card useless, makes Fiend useless in their hand. So one Kaiju and they're done for. Like they can't do anything at that point.
I think. Speaking of Kaiju's, like, I think that's almost gonna be mandatory.
Kaiju?
Because a Kaiju does amazing things against every single deck.
Yeah.
For Kaiju's, you can hit in Drytron, you hit the Herald. If they end on Herald, if not, you can hit like an IP or something. Tri Brigade, you can hit the Appaloosa or the Double Dragon Lords. Prank Kids, you hit the Bow Wow. If they don't tribute it in standby phase, or you hit the Butler. Sky Striker hit the Sky Striker. Salad hit the Salad Monster. Guru hit the Guru. Any deck with Dragoon hit the Dragoon. It's good against everything.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it's main worthy or side worthy?
I don't think it's main worthy at all. Well, I did just bring up that it's good against every single deck, so maybe it is decent. I don't know. I'd hate to go. I'd hate to like open it in game one.
Yeah.
I think any deck that like wants to go second could maybe get away with mining it, but any deck that wants to go first definitely won't main it because you'd hate to draw it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and if anything, the Wind Kaiju is the best one. I mean, nobody's running the Wind statue anyways now, but if they were, that would be the best one.
Yeah, I mean, no one's ever gonna play Water Statue, and for everyone who doesn't own their Wind Kaijus now, get them now because when Floowandereeze comes out, they'll definitely be playing the Wind Barrier statue because they can normal it on your turn for free. So be ready to have that card.
Do you see meta potential with those decks coming out? The Yangtzeens and the
Uh,
Flunderies?
the Zhang,
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
their TCG name came out, Sword Soul.
yeah, Sorcerer, yeah.
Uh, I think they'll do fine. They'll probably be good. Honestly, I don't know how it's winning in the OCG too much, because the deck doesn't naturally give you a follow up play.
Yeah.
And it ends on like 2 negates and maybe an Icarus attack, like a themed Icarus attack. So I don't personally love the deck that much. A lot of the success the deck gets is that it makes, or it has a lot of room, so it can play 12 to 15 hand traps easily. I think that's where it gets most of its success. But then again, Prankins do the same thing,
Mhm.
except for ending on negates. We end on like double Raigeki plus follow up. And then Flunderies, I don't know why the deck's not doing good. I guess because it loses to hand traps harder than just about any other deck. Correction, here it is. It loses to hand traps as bad as Prank Kids does, but it runs less extenders.
Oh, okay.
So like Prank Kids can play fusion spells and parallel exceed and instant fusion. The only extender Flunderies has is their own field spell, which is not searchable at all. So I guess I see why the deck's not doing as well, but I think Flunderies is definitely going to be one of those decks where it'll struggle against the meta, but it will absolutely curb stomp anything that's remotely rogue. Kind of like how Prank Kids was in November. It was decent against the meta, but it curb stomped anything that was rogue.
All I know is that you're supposed to side Imperm and Lancia versus the Flunderies, right?
Yes, if you imperm their first summon, they either have to have field spell plus extender. They have to have that to get through it because they're not running double summon or anything. And then if you Lancia them, they can't add back any of their resources or chain block any of their other stuff. For those who don't know, the Flunderies monsters, whenever the small ones leave the field, they're banished. And then whenever you summon a winged beast to your field, you can add it back from the banish zone. So once you get past the first summon, you can banish that monster and then use it to chain block the next small bird that you summon, and then you can keep going till either you end on their own UTC that gives them 3 normal summons, or their big penguin, which searches any spell and trap, plus is skill drain. So yeah, if you Lancia them, they'll be done. But I don't know if Lancia is going to be good enough to see play again, even with Flunderies coming out.
Yeah, yeah. It hits Tri Brigade, but I think that would be the only 2 decks it would be decent against.
Yeah, I think it would only hit of the meta decks. I think it will only hit Tri Brigade and the Flunderies decks. I don't know. I'm still excited. I think it's crazy that that deck can normal summon twice. It gets like 2 built-in normal summons on their turn and the opponent's turn.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then all of the effects of the small bird, actually all of the effects of the main deck monsters all say normal summon after this effect resolves. So you can do crazy stuff. Like on your turn, you can set up skill drain plus like a trap card plus whatever else is in your hand. And then on the opponent's turn, you can like do a normal summon chain into a wind barrier statue, and then whenever they try to attack over the wind barrier statue, you can normal summon into like a Rise of the Mega Monarch to hit whatever they was going to get over it with, and then you just keep going off next turn. The deck's very crazy when it's allowed to go off. A lot of people were scared of it, but I think it's not going to be as scary now that we see how well it's doing, or how well it's not doing in the OCG.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe if they get too out of hand, Konami will be able to hit them once October comes along. And I'm not even sure what the Zhang Jing deck does. So all I know is that they're worms. So I might be able to mix them up with Virtual World.
They make their in-theme level 8 monster, which it's a synchro monster. Basically, all the main deck monsters activate an effect to then summon a level 4 token that's a tuner. They then synchro with the token to make an in-theme synchro. The level 8 synchro adds it basically adds the extender from deck to hand, and then it can negate any one card on the field as a quick effect. So it ends on that, plus the new Fleur de Lis level 10 synchro, which also negates anything.
Oh, okay.
All it does is end on 2 negates. That's it.
Infernoble Knights
That's
does
2
like that.
negates if they don't get hand trapped.
Wow.
If they get hand trapped, it's like 1 negate. So I don't see what the big deal about the deck is, but
Yeah.
I guess because it's so consistent and it can afford to run all the hand traps, that makes it good.
Infernoble Knights. Oh yeah, the only bad thing about Infernoble Knights, they're consistent. They can end on the same board. All they need is any 2 warriors in the deck or connector, which is a 1-card combo. But
And they pray they don't get hand trapped.
yeah, but let's not talk about that. Don't side him. Imperm. Imperm is like the best hand trap versus that deck. Cause they cannot snipe it out with connector. Then if you hit the Aurora Dawn, they just say pass. Cause that's basically their choke point. But yeah, Imperm is just such a crazy card. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. The good thing is that it'll come around like the ban list season. So if they get too out of hand, like I mentioned, they can always just get hit. And you know who to hit, Konami. Prank kids.
Do not hit prank kids. Please, I need you to do a couple things.
Okay.
Ban Alpha, ban Lulu, ban Nerval,
ban Gazelle.
Fine, ban Gazelle. Ban Ray. Only give them Rose.
Yeah.
And then everything's gonna be nice.
Yep.
Prank Kids is a fair deck. I don't know why anybody would be mad at it.
All right, it seems like we got out of the logic side of the podcast here. All right, but yeah, I think that should be it. Do you want to say anything else before we wrap it up? Cause
shout out to my brothers. Shout out to Yada for inviting me on, and for his heartfelt apology to the Prank Kids fan base. Obviously, Prank Kids best deck. And then shout out to my apprentice, Zaki. He wanted to play Prank Kids about maybe a month and a half ago. So we found a way to hook him up with some cards, and now he's tearing it up while I've been away from locals. So good job. That's it.
All right. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you so much for listening.